All right, good morning, everybody. So right now we're going to quickly go through some current events. This comes from the UK Daily Mail, and it's actually talking about something that's been occurring across the US, not just, other countries, but also the US. And this is dated July 26th, 2023. The title is India's rice export ban spurs grocers to restrict sales of Sona Masori variety and raise prices to nearly $50 for a 20-pound bag after wild panic buying. It says grocers across the U.S. are putting restrictions on Sona Masori rice sales. The variant flavored by India's Tamil and Telugu communities is under export ban. Scenes of wild panic buying unfolded after India halted exports last week. A little bit more here. Specialty grocers across the U.S. are putting restrictions on the sales of certain rice varieties after India's new export ban sparked wild scenes of panic buying. India last week ordered a halt to foreign sales of non-basmati white rice, its largest rice export category, in a move that will roughly have shipments by the world's largest exporter of the grains. In a move that will roughly have shipments by the world's largest exporter of the grain. In the US, the move immediately sparked a rush to stock up on Sona Masori rice, the variant favored by the Telugu and Tamil communities hailing from the southern India, and amid fears of shortage. So basically that's what's been going on, like at Costco. For example, they just have had issues with obviously the ban of the rice, of the export. So people have been going crazy in that to communities and just buying as much as possible. I mean, look at this person. Just look at all these bags of rice. They're stocking up pretty much. It says at some U.S. stores, the price of a 20-pound bag of one of the affected rice variants has surged from $16 to almost $50. So that's a huge price hike right there. So anyway, but look at this, it's everywhere, and this also did happen in Texas, by the way. I think it was Texas and Michigan, Arizona, I believe, some other states in the U.S. that were going through this, that saw this, actually, had problems with this and saw this spike of panic buying. But that's one thing that's been happening. Another one, here we go, still the Daily Mail. This is dated July 29th, 2023. Searing Arizona heat wave that's delivered 110 Fahrenheit weather for 30 days straight kills off the state's iconic cactuses as locals bake cookies in cars and complain of melting roads. So basically that's what this article talks about. It just continues a little more here. A searing heat wave that continues to blister much of the U.S. is so hot that even Arizona's iconic cactuses are dying off. In Phoenix, Saturday is forecast to be the 30th consecutive day with high temperatures above 110 Fahrenheit, a streak that has shattered all records for the city with fatal results. At the Desert Botanical Garden in Phoenix, saguaro cactuses, a symbol of the U.S. West, are drooping, shriveling, and in some cases toppling over during the record streak of extreme heat. And here you go. Here's a picture of that happening. That's a cactus that they're talking about, pretty much dying off. Here, people baking cookies supposedly in their car. Right, that's a picture of the cookies in the car that they're baking. So at the Desert Botanical Garden, plant physiologists are studying just how much heat cactuses can take. The garden has specimens has over 2/3 of all cactus species, including iconic saguaros, which can grow to over 40 feet tall. And these are the highs given by a local news broadcast. Today's high, Fox 10, weather experts, here you go. Phoenix, it says in Phoenix, Saturday is forecast to be the 30th consecutive day with the highest temperature above 110, a streak that has shattered all records for the city. So you see 111, 113, 114, 116 right here in Bullhead City. So that's interesting. Look at the cactus here again. They're pretty much dying off. So, and then here, this dog toy, a rubber ball, turned into a pancake in the recent extreme heat in Phoenix. 114. Here's it says extreme heat left road sealant hot enough to leave footprints. Somebody again baking cookies. And then, of course, they show what's been going on across the country with regards to this heat wave, or actually I should say extreme heat. People out and about in different swimming pools and beaches and whatnot. But that's something else that's been going on across our country. Now let's turn to this. This is from, it says, Hal Turner radio show. It says, Apostate Pope calls for worldwide legalization of LGBT behaviors. This is dated July 23rd, 2023. So this is the Pope, Catholic Pope. It says, Pope Francis has criticized laws that criminalize homosexuality as, quote, unjust, end quote, saying God loves all his children just as they are, and calling on Catholic bishops who support the laws to welcome LGBTQ plus people into the church. He says being homosexual isn't a crime. Francis acknowledged that Catholic bishops in some parts of the world support laws that criminalize homosexuality or discriminate against LGBTQ plus people, and he himself referred to the issue in terms of sin. But he attributed such attitudes to cultural backgrounds and said bishops in particular need to undergo a process of change to recognize the dignity of everyone. He said these bishops have to have a process of conversion, adding that they should apply tenderness, please, as God has for each one of us, he said. Francis's comments, which were hailed by gay rights advocates as a milestone, are the first uttered by a pope about such laws, but they are also consistent with his overall approach to LGBTQ people and his belief that the Catholic Church should welcome everyone and not discriminate. Some 67 countries or jurisdictions worldwide criminalize consensual same-sex sexual activity, 11 of which can or do impose the death penalty, according to the Human Dignity Trust, which works to end such laws. Experts say even where the laws are not enforced, they contribute to harassment, stigmatization, and violence against LGBTQ people. In the US, more than a dozen states still have anti-sodomy laws on the books, despite a 2003 Supreme Court ruling declaring them unconstitutional. Gay rights advocates say that the antiquated laws are used to justify harassment and point to new legislation such as the Don't Say Gay law in Florida, which forbids instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity from kindergarten up to 3rd grade, as evidence of continued efforts to marginalize LGBTQ people. The UN has repeatedly called for an end to laws criminalizing homosexuality outright, saying they violate rights to privacy and freedom from discrimination and are a breach of countries' obligations under the international law to protect the human rights of all people, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. So he's, pretty much that's what it is. It just goes on and on. Then Hal Turner gives an editorial opinion here, and this is what he says. So the Catholic Church throws the doors open to Sodom and Gomorrah, hangs out a welcome sign. If we are not in the great falling away, I don't know what it would look like. Much of Protestant Christianity has already fallen to Satan. Some would say the Catholic Church became apostate many, many centuries ago. Jesus' flock are still on this earth, but you won't find many of his children in the mainstream denominations. The Bible makes clear how we are to discern good people from bad, and you shall know them by their fruits. It also warns, what the end times will start to look like. And then he gives verses, Matthew 10:15. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Mark 6:11. And whosoever shall not receive you nor hear you when ye depart thence, shake off the dust under your feet for a testimony against them. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than that city. And he gives other verses too. So, you know, basically, of course, he ends his opinion there. He's saying, you know, the Vatican has fallen, that the Pope endorses gay, endorses sodomy. And he gives, you know, his opinion also that every Catholic should be outraged that the fake Pope speaks for Christ to commit unholy acts of sin. So this Pope, this is not the first time this happens. This Pope has, from the very beginning, been very, very controversial, even for most devout Catholic. You know, he's come out many times in support of such, you know, support for LGBTQ plus, even pedophilia. So it's very interesting that, you know, people are actually talking about this now, putting it out there, calling him out on it. You know, I haven't seen anything major from the Catholic community posted anywhere about an outrage of such, but maybe there are somewhere out there. I just haven't seen any yet. But interesting that Stan and Chance were just talking about that. But yeah, it seems to be pretty much a, you know, let's protect these people while denying everybody else. For whatever reason, these people are more special than anybody else, than anything else, so we have to protect them, which makes no sense in my humble opinion, but let's move on.
Well, I think that I think the Catholic Church is becoming more, what is that word you guys use, seeker sensitive, or what is it where you just accept anybody and all beliefs? What's that term that you guys use all the time? What is it? What is it?
Israel used that a lot.
What is it?
Israel used that a lot.
Yeah, that's the Catholic Church. I mean, it sounds like they're just, because you know the Catholic Church is bleeding members, but I think that they're just trying to say we'll accept anything that wants to come our way. And this Pope especially, he's been stacking the church with cardinals that believe, you know, because they're the ones that elect new popes, so that when he finally dies, he's been stacking it with cardinals, appointing new cardinals that will ensure that someone that he wants will kind of take his place. But I think he's betting on the wrong people, because where is the Catholic Church growing more than ever is really more South America and Africa, and those people are more conservative. They don't, you know, he's still trying to appeal to European Catholics that are much more liberal. But I just think that at this point, I don't even know if the Catholic Church should be considered Christian. I think they're more like Mormon. A lot of people don't consider Mormons real Christians. I don't think a lot of people consider Catholics real Christians. Catholics themselves don't. And these are people that I encounter every day, people that are educated and are very devout Catholics. And they seem to make a distinction between Catholic and Christian. When I ask them, you know, what they are, they say, I'm Catholic. And I say, oh, I'm Christian. Well, I'm not Christian, I'm Catholic. So somehow along the line, they're making some kind of a distinction between Catholicism and Christianity, which is bizarre. And the other thing is, you know, I think the opposite should be, you have got to stick with biblical teachings. And if that means that you lose some members, that means you lose some members. And, you know, like the Southern Baptists that are about the most conservative Protestant church, just about, they're losing members by the hundreds of thousands, and they're kicking churches out because these churches have women pastors. You know, whatever you think of that, you know, right or wrong, they're saying, look, in the Bible, you know, we're not going to have women pastors in the Southern Baptist, and if you're having a woman pastor, we're going to kick you out. They even kicked out Warren Jeff's church. You know, the famous preacher Warren Jeff, because his wife was serving as pastor, and they kicked him out, and they're losing, and his church was like 20,000 people, and they're just saying, look, this is the Bible. We're trying to teach the Bible, and we're not going to allow, you know, these new liberal thinking and, you know, and if you don't like it, they've just kicked out churches because they're saying we're not going to compromise our values just to try to get many more people into our church. And they're sticking to their values. I mean, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but it's kind of admirable that they're saying, hey, if people leave the church, they leave the church, but we're not going to sacrifice what we think are biblical principles.
I'll add something to that as well. The Pope does have people who are fighting against him. These groups have, they aren't working together really, but there's kind of a number of different groups who have opposed him to his face. And some of them he's kicked out of the church. But the problem is the Roman Catholic Church gives so much power to the Pope that it's almost impossible to remove him, so they can't do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Stan and Shanks, I think we found us a pretty good tag team there. You know, because we're going to need somebody to do a couple of lessons, you know, at least, because I think Kurt Grant wants to come over or wants to at least address us. But we'll need two more in the form of a lesson, you know, whatever, and I can just go ahead and preach my sermon after. And I don't know if Sen has told you about the times he's going to be away, but it'll be August the 19th and the 26th, and come back, and also July the 2nd. Okay, so you guys got plenty of time.
Okay. Yes.
All right. Anybody else have any comments or questions about the topic? Okay. So yeah, very good topic. Thank you for discussing that and adding some information there to Chance and Stan and Pastor Joe. Again, very hot topic, very important to keep aware, to stay updated, up to date as to what is going on, even with this, even though we're not Catholic, just to know what's going on. Like I always say, be aware, beware, you know, of what's going on out there. And if anybody has any questions, I'm not going to see that you raised your hand. Please go ahead and just shout it out. Unmute yourself and just shout it out. If you have any questions or comments, just go ahead. No worries here.
I just have a suggestion, Cynthia, for you guys. You know, you got plenty of time, so how about you study up about the satanic symbol that a lot of entertainers are using, you know, where they do this pyramid thing. And I started noticing that in the Academy, or one of the movie award shows. They were all doing it, and then they were doing it in the Super Bowl, and then they were doing it in concerts. And I said, what are they doing? So I looked it up, and they said it is a satanic symbol that they're showing you they're not Christians. It's scary stuff.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of that stuff that goes way, way back that unfortunately churches throughout in Christianity haven't taught about, you know. But I think that as we're getting closer and closer to, you know, the apocalypse or World War III, whatever is coming up, you know, everything at once, I think that the truth is coming out, and a lot of secretive, old, occult knowledge from ancient civilizations is coming out, and it's just out there now, and people are waking up. A lot more people are waking up. For many years, if you ever talked about it, even within your own church, the pastor, the people in your church would look at you like you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about. Go away, you're crazy. Now, it's good to see that a lot more people are waking up. But yeah, so again, if anybody has any other questions or comments, just, unmute yourself and shout it out. Let's look at this one. This is the last one. WEF, again, World Economic Summit, infiltrated Dutch government begins euthanizing people with autism, disabilities, and alcoholism. So this one I really couldn't believe. I was like, I can't believe that's actually happening, but yeah, it's been checked up. Let's read a little bit. The Dutch state has begun euthanizing citizens, including children under the age of 12, because they have minor disabilities, autism, or suffer from alcoholism. According to the government, euthanizing these people will help save the planet. The Netherlands is one of the most Davos-friendly nations in the world, and the current government has embraced Klaus Schwab's vision of a depopulated world by any means necessary. And this article, by the way, is by the People's Voice, dated July 29th, 2023. I'm sorry, July 22nd, 2023. Let's go on, let's continue here. Doctors in the Netherlands have been ordered to begin euthanizing citizens with autism and other minor disabilities without fear of prosecution, even if the patient does not currently express any desire to die. Around 40 people who identify as autistic or intellectually disabled were forcibly euthanized in the Netherlands between 2012 and 2021, according to a Kingston University investigation of Dutch euthanasia cases. Autism rates are skyrocketing around the developed world, with many experts blaming the intensive vaccine schedule inflicted on the young and very young. According to the Dutch government, which pushes dozens of aluminum-laced vaccines on toddlers, euthanasia is the answer to the explosion in autism numbers. 5 people younger than 30 who were killed by doctors all had autism listed as the sole reason behind the decision to end their lives, the Kingston University study found. There are also cases of the state euthanizing alcoholics, sex abuse victims, dementia, and depression. With these cases, experts have questioned whether the law allowing doctors to kill patients on behalf of the state via lethal injections has strayed too close to the Third Reich Nazi-style eugenics program. It goes on. NY Post report, Casper Rouse, an ethicist and public health professor at Belgium's Ghent University, said the types of patients seeking out physician-assisted suicide have changed greatly over the past 2 decades in both the Netherlands and Belgium, where it is also legal. When the Netherlands became the first country to legalize human euthanasia, the debate focused on people with cancer, not those with autism, Rouse said. Patients must meet strict requirements, including suffering from an incurable illness that causes unbearable physical or mental anguish to be eligible for euthanasia. But doctors ultimately decide who qualifies. In the roughly 10-year period, the study focused on nearly 60,000 people who decided to die via euthanasia in the Netherlands, according to the Dutch government's Euthanasia Review Committee. Of those deaths, the committee has released documents and data on 900 cases in an effort of transparency. Kingston University researchers looked at those 900 cases and found 39 of them had autism or an intellectual disability. Of the 39, 18 were younger than 50 years old. Many of the patients cited a number of mental, physical, and age-related ailments as a reason for ending their lives, including unbearable illness. 8 people, however, named the sole cause of their suffering as factors related to their intellectual disability, such as social isolation, a lack of coping strategies, an inability to adjust to change, or oversensitivity to stimuli. And so pretty much this is what it is. This article talks about what is going on right now, this day and age, over, in this country, in the Netherlands, and how drastic and how disgusting it has turned against its own people. Instead of you know, actually trying to help the medical community, trying to help these people. It wants to just get rid of them, just kill them. It's too much of a drain on society, too much on the drain of the government. Just kill them. So it's a very interesting article. If you have time, go ahead and just log on and visit the People's Voice website. Very interesting articles there as well. All right, now let me jump over quickly to my presentation. Just a really short, quick presentation. It just was on my mind. It's just very simple, very quick, but I thought it had to be said. I've heard of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I'm in seventh heaven." Have you heard that? I'm sure you have. There was even a show, Seventh Heaven, right? I think it was Katie Holmes, Tom Cruise's ex-wife, who was on that show. It was way back, maybe 20 plus years ago. Seventh Heaven. And I've heard a lot of people, even, again, good Christians, use that term, use it to describe who they are, how they're feeling, right? It's very interesting. I was like, okay, well, let's see, because sometimes if you hear them again, or if you hear them at a certain point, it annoys me. So I just wanted to see, well, where did it come from? What happened? This one, Seventh Heaven, is actually has to do with Islam. So when they say seventh heaven, really what they mean is, and I'll give you the actual classic definition here, which is what the meaning to them. In Islam, it's the farthest of the concentric spheres containing the stars and constituting the dwelling place of God and the angels in the Muslim and Kabbalah systems. I don't know, didn't read into the Kabbalah system. I don't know that, but I did hear in other spots on the web that it was related to Muslim. They refer that to like their seventh heaven, right? Where God dwells, right? So I thought it was very interesting. So don't say seventh heaven. If you're really, in my opinion, if you want to use something like that, I haven't heard anything bad. I haven't read anything bad. I'll look into it, but I would just say I'm on cloud 9. Let's just go for that right now. If you need to use that type of term.